The normal way to carry out a local authority food hygiene inspection and provide reports to food businesses is to use paper. Normally, a self-duplicating form is used and one copy is taken back to the council and used for filing and generating further letters should that be necessary, and the other carbon copy of the form is left with the food business. But officers' handwriting can be variable, and sometimes the carbon copy doesn't come through quite as well as it might. Overall, it's a bit cumbersome, not necessarily a modern image, and there's an awful lot of paper used up in the process. So for all these reasons, at Elmbridge Borough Council, we started thinking, is there a better way of doing it? That's when we had the idea of looking at Granicus, an IT platform already used by hundreds of local authorities, including Elmbridge, for a wide variety of functions, such as allowing local residents to pay parking fines and renew garden waste collections and such like. We had no idea that it might be used for creating food hygiene inspection forms, but we tried it and it seemed to work. The idea was to create something which could be used on any tablet or phone during an inspection, and for the inspector to make their usual observations and to record the details not on paper with a pen but directly on the iPad on the form using a satisfactory, unsatisfactory or further advice option, using standard paragraphs, which can be amended as required, of course, and making it as simple as possible to create the inspection documentation. The form is navigated by the tabs you can see across the top there, and under the Action Taken tab, there are boxes to summarise the findings of the inspection and to specify timescales for any works required. These can be altered as necessary. At the end of the inspection, when the details have been explained to the proprietor, they can sign the form as well. The final part of the form before submission is to select the text for the accompanying email, which can be amended as required. Then the form is submitted, and when submit is pressed, that automatically generates an email which is sent to the proprietor with a copy to the office for filing. Attached to the email are two PDFs. One of the PDFs is the standard information that we're required to include, which explains the legal basis of the work we do. And the other attachment you can see there, just opening up, is the report itself, produced in a very standard format with the food hygiene rating logo top right, the previous inspection score clearly displayed, name and address, details, findings from the inspection, all clearly laid out in a systematic, standardized way which is easy to read and to understand. You'll see photos can be added. You can see a screenshot photo then in there, and also the form has the scoring detailed very clearly, so it can be easily understood. The different elements of the scoring are added up to determine the food business hygiene rating and also the frequency for future inspections. You can see from the screen that the signature from the inspection form has been neatly drawn through and placed into the report at the end. So far we've described carrying out physical inspections using the new digital form, but of course during the COVID lockdown period that wasn't possible. Instead, like many local authorities, we used paper questionnaires, telephone and Zoom calls. So we had to have a way of adapting our inspection form to record these new virtual inspections. And you can see on the screen there an option to select virtual inspections, which created a different type of report. And that report differs slightly from the one we already described, because the wording in the accompanying email is slightly different. And also, The accompanying report, which you'll see just in a second, is also slightly adapted to make it clear that it's a virtual inspection, and that you can see the logo there, awaiting inspection, makes it really clear that there is a follow-up to come after the virtual inspection process. Other than that, it's the same format, equally clear and useful for supporting businesses during COVID. At the end of the form, again, the scores are given, but of course no actual final rating is given as per the Food Standards Agency advice. That's not possible on a virtual assessment when you haven't visited the premises. At the end of the inspection report, you can see that there is no signature, because obviously on a virtual inspection that's not possible. During lockdown, we used a variety of bits of information to assess premises virtually, including paper-based self-assessment forms which were sent to proprietors. We started wondering, why didn't we digitize those as well? And that's what we did, and the results are here on the screen. A questionnaire for food business operators, which also gave them the chance to fill in a simple digital questionnaire for them to self-assess their own compliance. It also gave officers at Elmbridge the opportunity to look over the form, review the details, and make suggestions of where improvements might be needed. The beauty of having the self-assessment questionnaire available digitally is that we could convert it into the same format and merge it with the inspection form we looked at earlier, allowing photos and other information provided by the proprietor to be included. Over the weeks and months of lockdown, we've gradually improved the form, and here's a summary of some of our innovations. We've included a part of the form which allows the officer to prepare for the inspection in a structured way. Firstly, for example, looking at the previous score and adding that into the form. Also, reviewing whether the business has a primary authority agreement, and you can see there's a direct link from the form to really easily look up the primary authority details, which I think is helpful. On the form itself, if we just return to the form, you can see that there's options for adding details about whether there's a primary authority relationship, assured advice, etc. There's also a space for detailing whether the food premises is food registered, and recording those details as well. Information about the officer who's inspecting can be added easily as well, and their details and phone number, etc. are added automatically. The date of inspection is added and can be adjusted if required. And then during completion of the form, there's a range of standard paragraphs which have been included to add speed and efficiency during the inspection, but also allow a measure of consistency. There is the option, however, to adjust the standard paragraphs to make them relevant. You can see highlighted in blue in this particular form is some information that has been provided on the SAQ, the self-assessment questionnaire from the proprietor. That can be copied and pasted simply into the text box, which you can see there, which will form the text of the report. Photographs can be added to the report easily and simply. It's just a question of clicking on the upload button, and then from your laptop you can select any photo that you've got stored or you've taken recently, or more likely, if you're actually on site, you will be able to use your iPad or tablet or whatever device you're using, or even your phone, to use the camera mode, and that picture will be directly added to the report easily and very simply. The inspection rating for both inspection frequency and the food hygiene rating scheme has been entirely automated in the form. This allows the officer just to click the relevant boxes as appropriate. There's no adding up needed, because as we'll see in a minute, the form does all that for you. Where you put a score that's less than perfect, then as required as per the code of practice, you should indicate what the problem was, and there's a free text option for adding in those details, as you can see on the screen right now. You can see the automatic addition there. If we look at the last field for scoring and adjust the scores, you can see the food hygiene rating scheme score being adjusted automatically as the scores are changed. We've used the system for well over 100 inspections and feel it's got great future potential, not just at Elmbridge, but at other local authorities who may wish to try it. Thanks for watching this video.